Hey, I'm going to demo how you can streamline your developer onboarding experience to just 2 steps. You're going to install a command line tool, and then you're going to run the command line to get the API key. Now, before we do that, I want to show you what a company looks like today. This is pretty typical for all companies, all platform API companies. I want to show you how many steps that they do it in today and how there's room for improvement for them to streamline their developer onboarding. And for that, I'm going to look at Modern Treasury. They do a pretty good job of representing how most platform companies work. If you're not familiar with Modern Treasury, they're a fintech company, and they have APIs for payments, ledgers, reconciliation, and a lot of other finance-related functions. I'm going to look at the documentation because this is usually where developers start. And there's always a getting started. All right, platform and quick start. So this one kind of runs users through how they can set up an account, get their team set up, and all that fun stuff. We're going to look at API keys because that's another very common thing that most of these platforms need you to do. You got to get a key if you want to start integrating your development environment and eventually your production environment with their application. So ideally, you can give developers their API keys as quickly as possible and with as few steps as possible. All right, so Modern Treasury actually does a pretty good job of this, and it takes 9 steps for them to get an API key from their SaaS to a developer's workstation. We're going to cut that down into 2 steps. And for that, I've set up a demo at demodx.terminalwire.com. You can actually go here and try it out for yourself. And it's 2 steps. The first thing that we're going to ask developers to do to get started is to install demodx on their workstation. So they copy this command. We're going to do this over here. It installs. All right. And then we want to make sure that this thing is installed. So we run demodx and it's installed. All right, step 2. We're going to copy the demodx key create, which is going to give us our API key. I'll clear the screen. Demodx create. And we don't have an account yet because we're not signed up. And that's okay. We don't necessarily need for people to sign up for this thing to work. So we will if they run this command. So demodx auth login opens a web page. It's kind of what you would expect. We don't have an account yet, so we're going to sign up for an account, and we're going to say demodx@example.com. And the password, let's make a password. And let's sign up. All right, and the next thing we do after we sign up, since we're going to launch this from the command line, is we need to approve of this command line because it's not authenticated yet. So let's do that. We're going to hit the approve button, and now we're logged in on our command line as demodx@example.com. So that's pretty cool, right? There's a lot that happened in that workflow. We were able to, without having an account yet, we were able to run this command. It opened the window, we signed up, we now have an account. We'd obviously send an onboarding email to the developer at this point, and they're ready to go. They have demodx installed on their workstation now. Here's the thing. We want to go back to the docs, and we want to get an API key. So let's copy that command. Step 2, run demodx key create, and there's our API key. So we have reduced onboarding to just 2 commands the developer has to copy and paste into the workstation. And now they have this entire command line interface installed on their machine, so they can start to explore it and look around. And the nice thing about this is that once you have a command line installed on their machine, they can start integrating it with their workflows. So for example, maybe I have a demodx API key that I need to set. And we can just kind of bash script our way to victory there. Now we'll see if I can type. Demo dx keys create. Okay, so we're going to set our environment variable with this key. I'll run that, and then echo demodx API key, and there's our key. And you see this a lot with setting secrets in an environment, right? Like we might say fly secrets set. And then obviously, to have the variable there. So the point is that developers can use your command line to integrate more deeply with their workflows. And it's also useful for ops people as well. So if you're a system administrator and you're dealing with secrets, it's just handy to have access to a command line for things like this. So check it out. If you're interested in streamlining your developer onboarding experience, you can go to this demo at demodx.terminalwire.com. You can try this out yourself. There's also a link to the source code for this thing in the bottom. This is a Rails application, so if we open this up, it's going to take us to this Git repo, and 1Password's going to bug us for a thing. All right, so we're in this repo, and if you scroll down to the README, there's more that shows how you can clone the code, install it on your machine, and of course, it also kind of runs you through, if you're using TerminalWire, to build this command line, it shows you how the development workflow for that works. And of course, I highlight some of the source code here. So if you're a developer watching this, at least check out the app terminal folder and you can see what this looks like. The command we just ran, API key commands, it's kind of cool. So if we look at this create, we can see that we can fetch a name for this thing, but we just generated our own name through this method. Current user API keys.create, and then we put the token to the screen. So this is the token that we're getting. And of course, you'll notice that these keys command map to all these commands. So the development for this is actually quite intuitive. And the cool thing is this stuff lives on your server and it's streamed to the TerminalWire thin client. So if you want to make a change to this, you just deploy it to your server. You don't have to update any client software. That's what TerminalWire handles. So this streams to the TerminalWire thin client. Again, TerminalWire handles the installation, it handles the binaries, it handles all the cross-platform stuff. You just install TerminalWire to your application server, and then you build your command line on the server, and it streams to the TerminalWire client. There's more about that on the terminalwire.com website, including a demo. And it's really about creating amazing developer experiences that are as polished as Stripe, Heroku, and GitHub. So if you're a developer and you've used those tools, you're like, wow, those are some amazing command line developer experiences. They are. And those have traditionally been very expensive to build until TerminalWire came along. And now since you can stream command line apps from your server to these thin clients, it's no longer this thing that only big companies can do. Now anybody can do it. Takes about an afternoon. And one company that did that recently is Terminal. They sell these e-ink displays, and kind of the same story. I'm running into developers who they want to ship a command line interface. They're a smaller company. They want to punch above their weight. And this is kind of the thinking of the day, like, geez, only huge teams and companies can do that. But TerminalWire makes that so easy that Terminal actually shipped a command line in just a few days, and they were able to get feedback from customers about features and roll that in and deploy it. And the beauty of the whole thing is, as they were adding features to their application, they did not have to deploy any additional binaries to their customer because the new features are streamed from the server to the command line thin client. And it just makes the whole thing much faster to iterate, and it makes it so that even small companies can ship amazing command line experiences. So there's a lot more that TerminalWire can do. You should go to terminalwire.com and check that out and build some cool stuff with it. Developers love command lines, so get to it and have fun building.